Have you noticed how that Brazilian businessman who really built a solid wealth is generally the one who least shows off on social media? Meanwhile, the guy who posts daily photos of the imported watch, the brand new car, and his successful lifestyle is frequently drowning in debt with an overdrawn bank account. The difference between them is not only found in the bank account, but mainly in inner security. The hardest reality about masculine elegance: the more you feel the need to talk about yourself, the less other people believe in you. Have you noticed how the most respected men in any environment are rarely those who are bragging about their own achievements? This is a truth that many men take decades to understand, and some never learn. Let us look at the example of Warren Buffett, one of the richest men on the planet. He continues living in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500 United States dollars. He does not own yachts, does not collect luxury cars, does not flaunt jewelry. His presence in any environment conveys authority without needing to announce his fortune of billions. Why? Because true elegance is silent. Perhaps you are thinking, but showing achievements is not necessary to create connections and opportunities. In Brazil, where networking is everything. And I answer, there is a fundamental difference between sharing accomplishments when relevant and transforming every conversation into a monologue about your supposed greatness. The truly sophisticated man understands that power lies in what he chooses not to say. Discretion is not just a virtue, it is a strategy. It is the difference between being respected and merely being tolerated. Think about the executive who constantly needs to remind everyone about his MBA from FGV or abroad, versus the one who lets his knowledge speak through his actions and decisions. Which one inspires more confidence? Which one would you follow during a crisis? The reality is that when you brag, you are unconsciously signaling insecurity. You are telling the world, please validate me because I cannot do it myself. And nothing more quickly drives away the respect of other men and the admiration of women than this desperate need for external validation. So, what exactly do the most elegant and powerful men never boast about? Let us analyze what separates the truly respected from those who just think they are. 1. They never brag about how uncomplicated they are. I hate drama. I am a super simple guy. I'm not like those complicated guys. Curiously, those who most announce their simplicity and absence of drama are frequently the ones who create it the most. The truly uncomplicated man does not need to announce this. His consistency, reliability, and emotional balance speak for themselves. There is something deeply contradictory about someone who constantly announces how chill he is, while his behavior demonstrates exactly the opposite. It is like a neon sign flashing. Problems ahead. The true absence of complication is not in declarations, but in attitudes, in the ability to stay calm during crises, in not turning small problems into dramas, in resolving conflicts without making it a spectacle. The elegant man can have refined preferences and high standards without being difficult. He can value quality without being irrationally demanding. The distinction lies in intention and execution. When you find someone who constantly needs to remind everyone how relaxed he is, consider this a warning. True tranquility never needs announcements. 2. They never brag about money. This is particularly revealing in Brazilian society, where many confuse ostentation with success. Men who have really built wealth rarely talk about it. They do not casually mention how much their watch cost while drinking their 18-year-old whiskey. Financial ostentation is the territory of the insecure and the nouveau riche, who are still dazzled by their own rise. Men with generations of wealth, or those who have built solid fortunes, understand that money is a tool, not a trophy to be displayed. Observe men like Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire, but frequently seen in simple clothes. His power does not come from what he shows, but from what he has built and controls. When you meet a man who constantly needs to show receipts, check in at expensive restaurants, or photograph every luxury item he buys, you are not seeing elegance. You are seeing insecurity with a credit card. Financial discretion not only demonstrates class, it is also strategically intelligent. The true players know that revealing too much about their resources rarely brings advantages and frequently attracts the wrong kind of attention. Compare the businessman who constantly posts about closing million-dollar deals with the one who silently acquires companies without fanfare. Who do you think people really respect? Who will build a more lasting legacy? Remember, money talks, wealth whispers, and class observes in silence without needing to announce its presence. 3, they never brag about how elegant they are. There is a delicious irony in this. The moment a man announces, "I am very elegant," the entire effect instantly disappears. It is like a magician who reveals the trick before the magic, destroying the entire illusion. Have you met that guy who constantly mentions the brands he wears while his behavior completely contradicts the image he tries to project? He holds his cutlery as if he were stabbing something, constantly interrupts others, and has the subtlety of an elephant in a china shop. True elegance never needs to be announced. It is felt, perceived in the way you enter an environment, in the measured way you speak, in your ability to genuinely listen, in your precision when choosing words, and in your self-control in pressure situations. Men who truly possess class never need to say, "I am elegant." They simply are, and people naturally feel it. When you find a man talking about how refined he is, know that you are facing someone who is still trying to convince himself of this. A truly refined man lets his actions and presence speak for him. This is the first sign of a man who has understood the game at a deeper level than most will ever understand. And believe me, this understanding opens doors that money alone never will. 4, they never brag about their connections. I was dining with a congressman last week, and my friend, director of that multinational. When I was at that celebrity's house, name-dropping is perhaps the most transparent habit of the insecure trying to seem important. It is the behavior of someone who needs to borrow the status of others to try to elevate their own. Truly connected men protect their relationships, especially in Brazil, where the right connections can make all the difference. They understand that discretion is a form of respect. They do not use people as accessories or as proof of their own worth. Have you been at an event and noticed that person who rarely mentions names, but when they need to make a call, they have direct access to those who really matter? That is the man who has understood the game. Real connections are based on trust, and trust requires discretion. The true players know that power lies in who you can access when necessary, not in who you casually mention to impress strangers. When you build valuable relationships, guard them like treasures. Use them wisely, never as social currency to impress someone at a cocktail party. Think about this. If you really knew powerful people well, the last thing you would do would be to expose them in trivial conversations. 5, they never brag about their diet, body, or healthy lifestyle. Sugar? I have not touched that since 2019. I wake up at 4:30 for my morning ritual. My body is a temple. There is nothing wrong with taking care of your health, especially in a country that is beginning to increasingly value healthy eating and physical exercise. The problem arises when this becomes your personality and you feel the need to transform every shared meal into an unsolicited lecture on nutrition. Elegant men take care of themselves, yes. They value their health, practice exercises, eat well, but they do not make a spectacle of it or use it to judge others. David Beckham maintains an impressive discipline in his exercise routine for decades, but you will rarely see him lecturing about it or judging someone who orders a feijoada. His discipline is for himself, not a tool to feel superior to others. The refined man understands that true elegance never makes others feel uncomfortable. He can order his gluten-free salad, but will never make you feel bad for ordering a picanha steak. Think of it as balance. You can be disciplined without being dogmatic. You can take care of yourself without needing to convert others. And more. Importantly, you can occasionally enjoy a good wine or dessert without feeling the need to confess to anyone. True strength is not in never yielding to temptation, but in knowing when it is worth yielding and doing so without guilt or need. For explanation. 6. They never brag about how busy or in demand they are. I'm completely overloaded. I barely have time to breathe. My schedule is impossible. This is a particularly insidious boast because it comes disguised as a lament when, in reality, it is an attempt to seem indispensable and important. Truly powerful and elegant men do not brag about their lack of time. They master their time. The mark of a really successful man is not to be constantly busy, but to have the control, to dedicate his time to what really matters. The executive who constantly cancels commitments claiming emergencies is not demonstrating importance. He is revealing his inability to manage priorities. Compare with leaders like former President Obama, known for keeping sacred time to dine with family almost every night, even during global crises. True power is not in showing that everyone needs you. It is in demonstrating that you decide precisely to whom and to what you will dedicate your attention, and you fulfill that decision. When you see a man constantly bragging about how busy he is, you are not seeing success. You are seeing someone who has not yet learned to say no or to delegate. The next time you feel the urge to talk about how overloaded you are, ask yourself, am I really communicating value or just compensating for insecurity? 7. They never brag about luxury travels. There is a striking difference between someone who travels to experience and one who travels to show off, especially in the Brazilian context where international travel still carries a certain status. Typical posts of the show-off: feet by the infinity pool, the passport strategically open next to the champagne glass in business class, the caption, "My office today," with a view of some exclusive beach in Trancoso or Fernando de Noronha. The elegant man travels out of curiosity, for pleasure, for business, for genuine cultural connections, not to accumulate photos that prove his status. He may stay in the best hotels, but you will rarely see this on his social media. His most valuable experiences are often those that were not even photographed. A conversation with a local, a sunset contemplated in silence, an extraordinary meal in a place without Michelin stars. Compare the Brazilian tourist who shouts at foreign waiters demanding to be understood in Portuguese with the traveler who tries a few words in the local language, even if imperfectly. One seeks control and validation, the other connection and understanding. True sophistication is in being a citizen of the world, not a conqueror of it, in absorbing cultures, not in consuming them as products. If you are traveling just to show others, you have missed the essence of the journey, and people notice this, even if they do not say it. 8. They never brag about their personal growth. I have been doing a lot of inner work. I have established healthy boundaries. I am in a new phase. Genuine personal development is valuable, even more so in Brazil, where the self-help market is growing exponentially. The problem arises when it becomes a social currency or a performative identity. Truly evolved men rarely announce their transformations. They simply live differently, and the people around them feel the change. Compare the man who constantly talks about his insights from self-help books, but continues with the same toxic behaviors, with the one who silently changes his destructive patterns and builds a better life without fanfare. Real evolution is evidenced by consistency over time, not by grandiose declarations of change. It is demonstrated in how you react under pressure, not in how much you talk about mindfulness in times of calm. If you are really growing, people will notice. Your presence will change. Your relationships will improve. Your impact will be felt. No announcement will be necessary. 9. They never brag about the achievements of their children or their own disguised. My son just got into USP. My daughter is a piano prodigy. He takes after his father, obviously. Parental pride is natural and beautiful. But there is a fine line between genuinely celebrating your children and using them as extensions of your own ego. The elegant man certainly celebrates the successes of his children, but always in a way that honors their individuality and effort, not as a reflection of himself or his superior genetics. He understands that the achievements of his children belong primarily to them. They are not trophies for his parental cabinet. Observe the difference between the father who constantly interrupts his child's achievements to talk about how he takes after me, and the one who takes a step back, allowing the child to shine on his own merit. This distinction reveals a lot about how you see human relationships, as extensions of yourself or as autonomous individuals who deserve their own recognition. And yes, this also applies to mentioning your own achievements disguised as humility. I did not want to mention it, but since you asked, I won that national award. True elegance is in allowing your achievements to be discovered naturally, not in creating forced opportunities to mention them. 10. They never brag about their morality or generosity. I always leave 20% tip. I do volunteer work regularly. I firmly believe in being a good person. Perhaps the most revealing form of boasting is about moral virtue. Why? Because it contradicts the very essence of virtue. Authentic generosity does not seek applause. Real integrity exists regardless of witnesses. Genuine kindness does not demand recognition. The elegant man can be extraordinarily generous, but you will rarely hear this from him. You will discover it through those he has impacted. His good deeds are done discreetly, often anonymously. He does not need to announce his donations or volunteer work because his goal is not to seem good. It is to do good. Compare someone who posts on social media every act of charity with various photos of himself helping, usually with perfect angles that highlight his good side, with the one who dedicates time and resources without seeking recognition. This is the difference between performative virtue and genuine integrity, between using good actions as social accessories and performing them because it is simply who you are. True moral elegance is in doing the right thing when no one is looking, and more importantly, in not feeling any need to tell anyone afterward. The fundamental lesson here is clear. True masculine power is not in self-promotion, but in the silent authority that comes from inner security. Authentic elegance does not need announcements. It is like gravity, an invisible but undeniable force that influences everything around it. If you want to be truly taken seriously, stop talking about yourself. Focus on creating real value, on developing extraordinary skills, on building unquestionable character, on cultivating magnetic presence through actions, not words. Because the most respected men in any environment are not those who talk the most about their own power, but those whose power is so evident that they dispense with any mention. This is the paradox of masculine elegance. The less you need to prove your worth, the more valuable you become. If you identified with this content and want to elevate your level of elegance and influence, subscribe now to the channel. Turn on the notification bell to not miss any video that can transform your presence from mediocre to magnetic. Leave your like if you are committed to becoming a man who does not need to brag to be respected. And remember, in the world of masculine elegance, discretion is not just a virtue, it is power. It is the difference between being just another one and being the one that everyone notices when entering and misses when leaving. You learn today that the true man of class never needs to brag about his uncomplicated personality, money, elegance, connections, rigorous diet, busy schedule, luxurious travels, personal growth, family achievements, or generosity. Real power is in what you do not need to say. Elegance speaks, the braggart falls silent. Comment on this phrase if this video opened your eyes to behaviors that you need to eliminate.